is David from the Redneck Garage. I have a plan today to do some wet sanding. I got the hood and the sides and primer. Today I'm going to concentrate on the hood. I know I've said this before, but just remember, one of the main things people look at when they look at your paint job or your work is going to be the hood. It's this large area that you're going to have to do a good job on, otherwise it'll be noticeable, like, oh man, that looks like crap. Today I'm going to do wet sanding, and one of the things you're going to find a challenge on doing wet sanding on the hood itself, or any type of sanding really, is that oil can effect like I talked about yesterday. When you push down on that large surface, it's going to oil can on you, so it takes a lot of light surface pressure to keep from pushing that down and messing up that painting. So anyway, I got a couple other things to do today other than sanding, but hopefully the weather's nice enough here in Nashville that I'll be able to do a little bit of wet sanding today, and the rest of the week I think is in the crapper. But let's get going. Alright, the primer should be good and dry by now. Some nasty, I need to get that bond off the bottom. We're going to go through some steps of wet sanding and the proper ways to do it and the easiest ways to get this done. We're going to do a little wet sanding today. I can't believe it's about 55 degrees. It's sunny, so it's pretty nice out here. So we're going to use some Eastwood Guide Coat. It just gives a little bit of color to your primer so you can do your wet sanding. Alright, so I have the guide coat applied. You can see that it's got just a light black finish over most of the gray. And that's going to allow us to see the low spots or high spots, whatever it may be. I like to have like a really light hose, so I use one of these not disposable, one of the stretchy hoses. And I usually use it like a little spray nozzle that I can control the flow. And just give it a little steady flow across the surface. You don't need a ton of water, but you do need some. So I'll play with that. I'm trying to do it with one hand. And then I use 400 grit and my block sander to wet sand. That's usually what I use a K block to get that flat surface down. Okay, so if you were watching the video the other day of the house fire and what happened when a redneck burned it down, all that, yeah. This is after they cleaned everything up. Wow, it's just a concrete pad. I will say they did a nice job cleaning up though. The neighbors can't really bitch about that. I wonder if they're going to rebuild or not. Huh. That's crazy. Okay, there's Randy. So I'm supposed to know where he's at. He's at church. He doesn't answer his phone. He doesn't answer text messages. So now I'm at church picking him up and had no idea where he was at. Good Lord. All right, there's Randy. We're going to pick up his truck here at Bobby's Automotive, Franklin, Tennessee. There's this truck right there. Somehow you ended up with a Hyundai.
Hyundai.
Yeah, so this, I think it's lunchtime here though, so there's not a lot of work going on.
They got a CJ8 in there.
No, that's a, no.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh yeah, look at that. All right, it's awful quiet in here, man. What are they doing? That is an old Scrambler. There we go, man. That one's in nice shape. That is nice. Look at the interior on this thing. Wow, this thing's sharp.
You need some step bumpers.
Yeah. Agriculture plate. Wait, they did a nice job on it.
You need some steps though.
Yeah, there's no steps on it, so it's... Man, I tell you, it's kind of hard to get into. It's about the same height as mine, though.
Yeah.
That looks nice. It's been repainted. That's the granddaddy of our Jeep. Yeah, look at him. They're in there eating lunch, not doing a dang thing. He's working on this Mustang, too. This thing's been sitting there for years. And this is his project car that he's had for 50 years. Bobby, Automotive, Wrangler, say. What's up?
What are you doing?
We're here. We're filming.
Why?
Because that's part of the Redneck Garage's mantra. Yes. Yeah. That's a nice CJ8 out there. We wonder if we could have it.
Take it. Keys are in it.
All right. Thank you. All right. We're going to do some business. She's on the phone. Okay, so here's where we're at. I've been wet sanding on this and it looks good. Here's what your guide coat will do for you. You can see that I've hit metal here and I've hit metal here, and then in the middle there's a little bit of guide coat. Well, that means that there's a slight low spot here and here. Here you can see where it actually sanded down some of the Bondo, which is good because that took off a high spot. This is not such a huge dent that I need to fill it with anything. What I'll do is once I get everything wet sanded down, I will go ahead and shoot it again with high bell primer, and that should fill that small depression in right here. But I haven't even hit metal on these other spots, so that looks pretty good. And so we'll just continue on sanding and see how it looks. Let me give you just a couple tips for wet sanding. First of all, never use this. Ever. Never, ever. Never use your hand with a piece of wet sandpaper to sand, because your tips of your fingers will press down on the paper and cause division. You need something that's going to flatten that out. A number 20 wet or dry 3M sponge pad has a couple different uses. You can also use it as a squeegee to squeegee off when you're doing buffing. Works great, or for sanding it works also. And get you a good rubber pad. This one I cut down because I got one that was too big. It's about the right size for one sheet of wet or dry sandpaper, and it does a great job as far as being able to smooth out a larger surface. In the same way that you'd use a air file to flatten down things, I use this to flatten down my primer. Now I'm going to use my other camera to get a little bit closer view and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the result after wet sanding for, gosh, I don't even know how freaking long, a couple hours. You can see from the guide coat here that there's a little low spot here and a little low spot here, and then two metals coming up. When I rub my hand over it, it's not that deep that I don't believe that I can just fill that with some primer. Okay, but when I come over to this side over here, most of these little spots right here are going to fill in with primer. Here, I'll probably put a little bit of filler because it's pretty deep. And then for sure right here, this was a pretty good sized dent. And when I look at it, I can tell that this spot here is pretty deep. So I'll take some glazing putty over this and that. We will shoot it again with the high bell primer and then wet sand it all down, and it should be pretty close ready to paint, really. Okay, that's it for today at the Redneck Garage. That's wet sanding. Any questions or comments, check below. I'll be happy to answer them. We'll be moving along with the rest of the bodywork. Now, today it was about 50 degrees. Tomorrow's going to be the high of 40 with the low of 23 tonight. So I got to get all this junk put back up, all the stuff that's going to freeze done, and hopefully in a day or two I'll be able to get back on doing the rest of the bodywork on it. David from Redneck Garage. Keep sanding.